In this video, I'm going to cover the overhead press starting from the ground up. So very similar to the squat, deadlift, you want to create maximal tension in the feet, really gripping the ground with your feet, externally rotating those feet. Once again, this is just going to create tension from the ground up. And then after you're creating that tension, really create this posterior tilt with your hips and squeeze those glutes. This is going to prevent you from being in this very wobbly, unstable position when you have the weight above you. Otherwise, you may notice some type of wobbliness, instability, and this is just going to increase your likelihood of hurting yourself and decrease your likelihood of being able to press as much weight. And in addition to that, so next, grip. You really want to grab the bar in a position that allows your elbows to roughly track underneath your hands. And what I mean by that is we want to see something where the elbows can stay directly underneath the wrists during the majority of the press, just like so. If you get too close, you're going to see those kind of flare out, and this is just going to place you into a very compromised position in terms of being able to press with those triceps, because you are now compromising your ability to extend those triceps, which are massively aiding you to get that full extension at the top of the overhead press. Now, once you have created that nice gripped position to where the elbow is directly underneath the wrist, you want to ensure that the bar itself is actually stacked above the wrist. So what I mean by this is a lot of times you may see the bar slightly come behind the wrist. Now, what this is going to cause, similar to what I mentioned earlier about the elbows being in this compromised position, this is going to also place your elbows in a compromised position, because now the weight is no longer centered above your lever point, being your elbow here. It's basically like a tabletop pressing the weight up. So if you're sitting back like this, now you're coming up and then trying to press the elbows back to get up underneath the bar. So to prevent that from occurring, you want to make sure that the bar itself is stacked directly above the wrist, and the elbows are going to be roughly underneath the wrist as well, creating, once again, this nice table for this bar, the loaded bar, to sit on as you're pressing up. Next, as you are in your gripped position with the barbell stacked directly above your wrist and your elbow, you want to create this external rotation of the scapula. This is going to create maximal tension in the upper back, which is what is essentially doing the majority of the stability portion of this lift. So when I say external rotation, you're going to really kind of pull those elbows in underneath the bar. Now, as it's loaded, you're not going to be able to do this to a massive extent, but it's that intent of doing it that's going to create a lot of tension right here in your lat and serratus and back in the rhomboids. So you have the slightly wider than shoulder width grip in most cases. Barbell is stacked above the wrist, directly above the elbows, and then you're creating that external rotation of the shoulder blades. And now as you press up, you want to tuck your chin back. That way you can press directly up and then press your head forward as soon as the bar clears your head. This is going to create a straight bar path as you're pressing and lowering the bar. So as you come back down, you're slightly bringing that head back. That way you're not going to hit yourself in the head or in the face. And then as it comes down, you can come right back up and then just repeat. Of course, this may look a little off because I'm using a stick and not a barbell, but if I was using a barbell, it'd be much harder to just actually see me from the side because there'd be a plate on the side. So once again, gripping the ground with your feet, externally rotating, creating that tension, squeezing the glute, creating an anterior, a posterior tilt, and stacking the barbell on top of the wrists, on top of the elbows, with a wide enough grip to keep the elbows underneath the wrist during the majority of the lift, externally rotating the shoulder blades, bringing the head back as you press and through as soon as you pass, full extension at the top, and then repeat on the way down in reverse.